Wait. Good morning. That top one doesn't light. It's a wickless candle.
Welcome to the First Existentialist Congregation of Atlanta, our morning celebration of life. I'm Wade Marble, I'm the facilitator today, and our musician today is Craig Rayfuse.
Thank you.
And our first congregational song is in the new White Book. It's Teach Your Children in alphabetical order under the Existentialist Congregation of Atlanta. We are a spiritual community philosophically based on existentialist and feminist principles, dedicated to the human liberation and protection of the natural world. We make our spiritual home in the old stone church, which was hand-built more than 100 years ago by the African-American Antioch East Baptist Church. We acknowledge that racial hostility drove those African-Americans from the area, and we honor them and the powerful history of this place. We also acknowledge that in the 1800s, the Muskogee Creek people were driven from this land, and we support justice for all Indigenous people. Happy Father's Day. We have a panel of 4 fathers speaking today, and I want to let you in on this card I received this morning when I woke up. It's a good way to greet the morning. It's from Stell. It shows 2 pieces of cheese on the front cover, and the one cheese is saying, "You're one of the Gouda ones." And the other one says, "You cheddar believe it." And inside it says, "Just a cheesy wish for a happy Father's Day." We'll try not to be too cheesy today and sentimental, but we will welcome our 4 fathers on the panel. Really appreciate them and Susan Ralston for pulling the panel together. A couple of quotes that I thought were interesting about fatherhood is the first one is from someone I vaguely remember in my childhood, Jim Valvano. He was a basketball coach and a basketball broadcaster. "My father gave me the greatest gift anyone could give another person. He believed in me." And the second one is a familiar person in our lives also, who said, "Any fool can have a child. That doesn't make you a father. It's the courage to raise a child that makes you a father." Barack Obama. If you have any community announcements, would you please write them down and bring them up to you? Here's an example of what you should do.
Good, Agnes. Thank you. Thank you.
And I'll read them a little later in the service. There's should be a pad and a pencil or pen on the back table there. Are there any newcomers here today? Yeah, or someone maybe who hasn't been here for a long time? And would you, if you want, please stand and introduce yourselves. Maybe let us know how you came to visit us today. Okay. Are there any birthdays or anniversaries to celebrate? And if so, come on up.
25th anniversary. Mark and Shelly, happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary, Mark and Shelly. Happy anniversary to you.
A birthday.
Did you say 25? 25.
Yeah, okay. This is Kim. He was born a year before I was, 1948. Let's go, happy birthday. Kim, how's it?
Yes.
How's it? Take it away.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Chris. Happy birthday to you. I had a birthday. I'm going to sing here. I'm not going to get up there. I can still play the guitar, but on June 5th, I turned 72. Oh my God. My name is Craig. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Craig. Happy birthday to you.
All right, Craig, you're catching up with Tim and me. 3 years ago. Our second song for today is Look at the Hillside. It's in the pink book on page 45.
And this melody you'll be familiar with because it's that song that Cat Stevens sang. But these are different words. And I want to say that, so 72 years ago when I was born, I spent my first summer at a YMCA camp, and my father was the director, and he had a career in the YMCA. And my dad, actually, he would have been 104 on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday. But he introduced me to, what this song is about, nature, basically, And we did a lot of camping, not just summer camp, but we went camping a lot. So, look at the hillside, look at the mountains, look at the colors, red, green, and gold. Look at the maples, look at the birds. old trees look at me, oh. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, go. The springtime, think of the summer, think of the winter, soon to be here. But this is autumn, glorious autumn, beautiful autumn, best of the year. Each tree is special, each tree is lovely, each tree is needed, each has a home. So are you special, so are you lovely, so are you needed, part of the whole. I have overlooked that song all these years, didn't even know it was there. Welcome.
Our fellowship minister, Reverend Marcia Mintzman, would you like to come up and have a few words? Share your thoughts for the day.
Good morning. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day today. It's a beautiful, hot day in Atlanta. But we're used to that, so at least we have the wonderful sunshine, the beautiful trees, and a lot to be grateful for. But what is on my mind is my deep concern and actual outrage about the continuing war in Palestine, that I feel like it's very important that we recognize that the war is being carried on by the government of Israel, not by the Israeli people, that we need to be sure and not let others confuse what's going on and become hear rhetoric of anti-Semitism, because this is a war waged by a government and not by people of that government. And yet there are very many people that are suffering needlessly, that are suffering in terrible conditions and agony. Women, children, and men are dying from starvation, partly because the government will not let in sufficient supplies for emergency. And I think it's just an outrage. And so I know that there's not a lot that we can do directly, but I hope that in whatever way that you can, if you pray, you meditate, you put out good energy, whatever that is, that you do that, and that you write letters, that you make phone calls, that you just let your voice be heard, and so that the people that are in positions of power know that not everyone supports this kind of atrocity. And that is part of the world that's going on, and the other part of the world is that we have a beautiful sanctuary, air conditioning. Thank you, Bill, for the fact that we Andy, thank you, Andy, that we have air conditioning this week. So there's a lot of good in the world, and we need to recognize and celebrate the good at the same time that we fight as best we can against that which is evil. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mark. We do have some community announcements. And there's one that's missing. See if I can wing this. Saturday, is that correct? The 22nd is the dedication of our building as a historic designation under the city of Atlanta. And do you know what time that begins?
2 p.m. 2
2
p.m.
p.m. Okay. And our choir will be singing with the Antioch East Baptist Church choir, or sitting in, as Gene says. I believe that's all that needs to be said. That's everybody here to support that. It's a very important moment in the history of this place. Today is our third Sunday of the month, and so it's the meet and eat, or eat and greet. And we would like whoever can help with setting up the tables, and we'll have a potluck lunch right after the service. We want okay, this is something different from Mary. We want a photo of Jane's birthday. Go ahead and
The June birthdays, we have a really picturesque kind of artwork piece of cake.
a little
And,
longer.
we thought that it'd be good to have everyone here who has a June birthday to pose with the cake, and we could get a picture. That was my thought.
Okay. And there's a rainbow cake from Dulce Vegan. Did I say that right?
We'll
Dulce?
see you, yes. Correct.
Not too good at foreign languages.
Vegan.
I'm also not too good at writing in green. Marty, help me out if I
Okay,
miss this.
so I'm Marty Miller. I am the delegate to the Unitarian Universalist General Assembly. For those of you who identify as being Unitarian Universalist First Existentials, I'm here today if you want to talk to me about what's upcoming. And Sarah put out this week the final version of Article 2. So if you want to take a look at it, I'll be voting on your behalf. And also on an Israel initiative as well. So I'd love to hear from those of you who are UU persons.
Okay. Thank you. At this time, we will have our time of silence, in which you're invited to meditate or use the time however you wish. And if you have any reason to light some candles on either side of the sanctuary, please do so. It's in the pink book on page 42. 42.
Another artist song. Another waltz, too. I didn't realize I was in a waltz trend of mine until I started practicing. And I guess hopefully you can read music, because it's not a melody anyone will play. But it's pretty simple. Now sing we all the brave of old. It'll be like that. Now sing we all the brave of old, who would not sell themselves for gold. Let leprous riches plentiful, these we are. Of men and women, those pure, whose faith was great, whose lives were pure, who scorned the world, whose splendid lure. Who when no no grave is going away. Rest ever on by night and day. And spite of pain that ever stay, keep on building. Who long the world's dark sorrows for? Who held in love and suffers more? Who being dead live evermore? Leave beyond. Just shortly before he died, back in 1984, he was 36, he had leukemia, didn't have, any hair, gave an incredible performance. My friend Tim Bays, who opened up for him, said that he came back into the green room and literally just collapsed on the couch, You would never know, it was so fantastic. He has a great song that his buddy John Prine kept singing about Steve's father, whose name was Joseph Bayer Goodman. They called him Bud. And it's another waltz. I had no idea I was so locked into waltzes here. I miss my old man tonight, and I wish he was here with me, with his corny jokes and his cheap cigars. He could look you in the eye and sell you a car. That's not an easy thing to do, but no one ever knew a more charming creature on this earth than my old man. He was a pilot in the big war, in the U.S. Army Air Corps, in a C-47 with a heavy load, full of combat cargo for the Burma Road. And after they dropped the bomb, he came home and married Mom. And not long after that, he was my old man. And oh, the fights we had when my brother and I got him mad. He'd get all boiled up and he'd start to shout, and I knew it was coming, so I tuned him out. And now the old man's gone, and I give all I own to hear what he said when I wasn't listening to my old man. I miss the old man tonight, and I can almost see his face. He was always trying to watch his weight, and his heart only made it to 58 for the first time since he died. Late last night I cried. I wondered when I was gonna do that for my old man. I wondered when I was gonna do that for my old man. As I was practicing that, I couldn't get through the song. I just kept on weeping, but today I was able to go through.
Thank you, Craig. I'm bringing tears to my eyes. To celebrate Father's Day today, we have a panelist of 4 Gouda fathers. You better believe it. It's Leon Clymore, John Leake, Patton White, and Mark White. And so guys, would you come on up and have a seat here and share with us your thoughts on existence as a father. I'll introduce these guys while Susan's looking for John. Leon Clymore, a friend of us all, has wandered politically, religiously, spiritually, emotionally, and geographically for 88 years. He has been married for 65 years and has 3 adult children, 7 grandchildren. And he has gained some emotional, spiritual, and philosophical growth along the way. His goal now is to learn and to love more and better. Let's have an applause for him. Now, Patton White, also a friend of us all. The Patton White has worked as a dancer and choreographer since 1982. He has served as the artistic administrative director of Beacon Dance since 1990 and has taught at Agnes Scott College over the years 1995 to 2001. Patton White. Mark White spent the happiest days of his career helping Filipinos and Ugandans start CDC-style epidemiology training programs. He and Shelly Ahmann have been married for almost 25 years. He has 2 grandchildren and 2 artistic daughters, Leila and ZuZu. Mark self-published a memoir, Adventures of a Diseased Detective, and a thriller called Alaska Springs, New Mexico. Mark White. And last, but not least, but late, John Leake. And his first home was in the Kirkwood neighborhood in Atlanta. His always home is in the Druid Hills section of Decatur. Now retired, John creates original American haiku for pleasure, and he has 2 children. John Leake.
Happy Father's Day. I had experience with 2 fathers growing up, my biological father and my one grandfather. My own father was an alcoholic all his adult life and died early due to the consequences. He had some good qualities as well, but it was hard for me to give him credit for those when I was reminded of his mistreatment of my mother practically every week of my life. He never mistreated me. I lived with my grandfather for 1 year while my father worked on a construction project away from a town, no school. My fathers, these 2, never talked about their feelings or their problems, but they did provide for their families. When Lou and I married, I did not know how to be a good father. No models, no training. Our 3 children were born in Lusaka, Zambia, as we were missionaries in Central Africa. My religion told me to put my mission for God first. Everything else must come second. Wife, children, family life. Now I see that as a grave mistake. Religion can sometimes get in the way of being a good human being. I was a second-rate father, and I'm sorry for that. Schopenhauer suggests that we forego appearances and admit, once and for all, that parenting, along with life in general, is a hell that forever deviates from the scripts we have for it. Well, hell is a bit too strong. But certainly difficult, challenging, and overwhelming at times. Many of us come at parenting so unprepared for one of the most important roles in the world. Children of alcoholics are often immature, distrustful, anxious, poor at intimacy and relationships, approval-seeking, with fear of abandonment, fear of criticism. So they're not so good at relationships. That, sadly enough, describes a large part of my life as a husband and father. Or at least that's what I've worked hard to recover from. I'm on the journey of becoming a more healthy husband and father. I do remember good times together as a family, swimming and camping at Lake Nyasa in Malawi, boating on Lake Lanier, camping and canoeing at Okefenokee Park. I enjoyed our family get-togethers, and still do. We all agree on values and priorities, and that's very nice. Our daughter, Trish, is the financial officer for Childkind, a nonprofit organization that places medically challenged children from Family and Children's Services with foster parents and monitors the families. She's very organized, has many friends, and is the most wonderful lesbian that I know. She leads us all in settling problems and relationships, and she's invited me out to Zykes for lunch today. Our older son is an addictions counselor with a treatment program in North Georgia. He's very intelligent and has a great personality and a super father. Our younger son has his own business of mold remediation in the Loganville area. He treats his family very well and tells things like they are, straightforward. Our 2 sons had terrible drug and alcohol addiction problems for years of their young adulthood, but are enjoying over 25 years of sobriety now. They have devoted themselves to helping other addicted folks. Thankfully, our 3 children are super people, great values, good relationships and families. Children are usually very forgiving of their parents' mistakes. All are much a better parent than I was, and for that I'm thankful. I'm grateful for them and so glad they live around us. They've given us 6 children and they've given us 6 grandchildren and a great-granddaughter. I enjoy being with them when we're together. We laugh a lot. We often get together with Nancy and Patton at family gatherings as we share some family together. I didn't know this until I came to First D. I love our children and grandchildren and very proud of them. Thank you.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm John Leake, and
Would you get
I'm
closer
here
to the
to
microphone?
talk to you. I'm here to talk to you about fatherhood as I know it. But let me start with this. Problem solvers work well when paired. Hardy, bravo. Your loving Hail Mary solution, a grand party. Do you have childhood memories of your father? Yes, Daddy was the donut bringer. Was he a baker? No, he managed an insurance office on West Peachtree in Atlanta, Georgia. Sometimes he would stop by the Krispy Kreme donut store on Ponce de Leon Avenue on his way home after work and pick up 1 dozen glazed donuts. My delight was unimpeachable on such occasions. Did you have a sweet tooth? Daddy cured me of that. How did he do that? By tagging me along, my stout body, with him during his constant weekend activities, planting trees, cleaning gutters in spring and fall, and hitting the local swimming pool and lake or beach trips in summer. At Venetian pools, diving pool, Daddy was king of the high board. He would throw 1.5 flips, gainers, full twisters. My favorite dive of his was his swan dive. He would throw his arms out and his head back, his chest out, and just float through the air. And it seemed to me that he would just fly back home. Daddy taught me to climb trees and ladders, ride Ferris wheels, roller coasters. He taught me don't fear heights. In 1967, when I pulled out of the University of Georgia to volunteer for U.S. Army helicopter flight school, Daddy was stoic. He had instilled in me values of duty, honor, family. He respected that in my judgment, and he took out a $10,000 life policy on me. In 1971, I was offered reserve status to complete college, and I came home to a warm family that I loved. But I was changed. I was restless. I began world travel. And Daddy took a second $10,000 life policy on me when I headed to Africa. I got married in Atlanta in 1984 at age 37. My first child was born in 1988 in Atlanta's Piedmont Hospital. I was a father at 40. My second child was born in 1990 at Atlanta's West Paces Ferry Hospital. What joy. In January 1991, I was called up from U.S. Army Standby Reserve to active duty during Desert Storm. I was assigned to Fort Rucker for refresher flight training, followed by duty at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. When I got to Kentucky, I rented a farmhouse. It was in the middle of a big cornfield. And the house was an old farmhouse, but it had a big yard in it. And the driveway was like 300 yards or football field length to the road, the main road that it was on, Katie's Road. And there I was, had my duties that I had to take care of. But I learned that with the preschooler, my first son, and his younger brother, I discovered Kentucky from life centered on big tractors, harvesters, farm ponds, and horses. It was quite an experience that lasted only briefly, and then I was assigned to Fort Wainwright in Fairbanks, Alaska. And so now, with now a preschooler in elementary school, and the toddler was in preschool, I traveled up to Alaska, and there we enjoyed a great time with the cold winters and the snow, doing Nordic skiing, doing sled riding, stuff that we couldn't do in the South in the winters. And in the summer, we would go out, we'd pick berries, run into moose, and see bears. We'd go salmon fishing in the rivers there, netting the salmon, pretty much like the bears did. My elementary school son, I think that's what hooked him on fishing, was that experience. And then that term came, and I was reassigned this time to Manhattan, Kansas. And in Kansas, it was a great experience for the boys because of their the life there was different. We were back into something that we could handle, and they were now in the middle school, and the eldest was big on horse riding. You could tell the difference between the two boys at this time. They had been showing differences all along, but at middle school, the eldest started really showing up for music and sports and, you know, all kinds of activities, whereas the youngest remained pretty much closed in on himself and enjoyed reading and doing things of his own choosing. They were both quite independent. That's one thing as a father, you give up your independence when you become a father. And that was the time that I was sent up for 1 year overseas to Seoul, Korea. And during that year, we communicated once a week on the phone, but they had to learn to grow up a little bit more and take a little bit more care of their family life. And it showed so much a difference from my own family, where my father was always present. I was no longer present. When I came back from there, we went to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and that was in 2002. And at that time, they were starting to get ready for high school. The youngest was, the oldest started high school, and the youngest was starting it. And I spent the longest time there of my time in the Army, 6 years, retired in 2008. And they were both into college and graduated before I came back to Atlanta in 2015. And they were really the first ones in my family to graduate from college. And both of them did, and I'm very proud. They're very independent and standing on their own. And that's my story, and I stand by it.
Good afternoon now. I am going to share reflections on having a father and being a father. Right now I am wearing one of my father's shirts. For those who've been paying attention, I have been off and on wearing many of his shirts. And that is because this is an acknowledgement that this is the first Father's Day without him, as he passed away back in July of last year. And because his foot size was a lot larger than mine, I can't walk a mile in his shoes, but I can walk a mile in his shirts. And so I will be continuing to do that over the years, feeling as if I can almost experience the life that he experienced while inside this shirt. This one is from the 50s. So back when he was in his 20s and 30s. And it has taken me a little bit of time to realize what an existentialist he was, actually. And perhaps not wanting to or even knowing that he could claim that title. But he, from his early childhood, definitely did not want to follow the conventional pathway of his father, who was a banker in San Antonio. And so he struck out to Colorado and ended up majoring in forestry and becoming a forest ranger and living out of doors as much as possible and basically trying to say no to the conventional world. And Leon, I did want to just acknowledge that Sartre famously said that hell is other people. Back to your comment about hell earlier. And so I think without even knowing it, at some point after having trying to play the traditional father role for many years and being the stern disciplinarian that he was in our early childhood, by the time I was about 16 or 17, he finally was just kind of like, okay, no, you're of an age where I'm going to encourage you to make your own choices. And so he started me on the path of my existential life. Conventional is an adjective for things that are normal, ordinary, and following the accepted way. My fatherhood is anything but conventional. I did not, earlier in my life, feel that burning desire to be a father. And being a gay man, I did not see myself marrying a woman and having the traditional family in that way. But I also never really, even though I thought about the possibility of romantic relationships and found them over the years, I never really had that burning desire to raise children, and part of that I think was because I was living the artist's life, which for those who know anything about it, it's very much living on a fringe and barely being able to feed yourself, let alone other mouths. But For many, many, many years, I led a very closeted life, not in my sexual orientation, but in my fatherhood. Back in the late 1980s, I started as a sperm donor and did that for about 15 years. And I would say within the first 2 or 3 years, I was already aware that, at least on a theoretical way, I was a father, in that the bank that I was working with would share, because I said I was curious about my offspring, and so this one time I went in, and the woman who was the head of the bank, she said, "Oh, we have a picture to share with you." And so I got to see the first picture of my first daughter. And so over the years, it lived in this very theoretical way. I knew that I had offspring out there in the world, floating around, and I often wondered, as I would look at a child or a teenager, thinking to myself, they look an awful lot like me. Wonder if they're mine. And then about 5.5 years ago, I got a Facebook Messenger message that would end up changing my life in ways that I could not even imagine. And it was from Trisha's, Leon's daughter's former partner, Becky, who was the birth mom of 2 sons, Anderson and Jody. And in this message, she shared who she was, shared about their family, and shared how I was responsible in part for that family, as I was their donor. And so it took me a little while to kind of wrap my head around this as a new direction, a new choice, as it were, in the existential realm. Did I want to make that choice and open myself up, open my heart up to this new possibility? And when I finally made that decision and I composed an email and got ready to send it, and really sat with that for a little while, knowing that it was going to change my life and not knowing how that was going to, what sort of change that was going to bring. The moment that I went ahead and pushed send was one of the most, if not the most, euphoric moments in my life, where it was like, for a conventional father, their path to fatherhood goes all through the pregnancy, and then the birth, and then all of the years of witnessing and being with that person as they come into being, and take all of that and compress it into that 1 second of pushing send. And that was what I was feeling in that moment. Jump forward to the arranged meeting for the first time, which happened at Minchie's, the frozen yogurt place over in Toco Hill. And me, with my constant love of making my life a Hollywood movie. I had these visions of that first meeting being, we would see each other across the room and we would run towards each other and throw our arms around each other and hug and cry and blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't quite like that. I think we were all nervous. spirits. And so our first physical connection was in shaking hands. But by the end of that meeting, we did hug goodbye. And it was the exchanging of phone numbers prompted by Tricia. And she's like, come on, get his number. And so they got my phone number, I got their phone number. And that was in April of 2019. And then I got to experience several months later my first Father's Day with Jody and Anderson. And we went back to Minchie's where we had first met. And in reflecting on all of this, I was brought back to this idea that many years ago, when I was invited to create a dance piece in memory of my brother who passed away, that I wanted to focus on the idea of relationship. And that even though I can claim the title of father of Jody and Anderson, I see it, I live it more as a relationship rather than this term that has all sorts of preconceived notions of what that should be, rather than can be. And it comes down to one thing for me, and that is this bountiful, unconditional love that I have had the extraordinary opportunity and opportunity to live in my heart.
My father was a newspaper publisher, editor, and writer, and a great eccentric. People still in my family will accuse others of being an Elmer, which was his name. He was very generous with me. When I was 16, he bought me a sports car and a few boxes of condoms, which led to a happy period in my life. He also campaigned against the mafia. It was the Irish mob, and we were living in a town called Muskegon Heights in Michigan. And he published an editorial attacking the mob. And the next day, after that ran, a little guy and a really big guy came to see him. And the little guy said, look, unemployment is a problem. And see, my friend is very stupid, but he's strong and violent. And so we're able to collect debts and contribute to society. And my father saw the wisdom of that. And that was the end of his anti-crime spree. My mother, Betty Jane White, was the younger sister of his best friend, Uncle John, spent a week trying to persuade her not to marry him. But fortunately he failed, and as World War II ran down, I was conceived and born as, well, actually I was much better looking at the time, but as you see. So he was a wonderful guy. I have two sons, Alex, who is a screenwriter in Hollywood. He's got two kids, one of whom was just discovered to have celiac disease, sprue. As long as you avoid wheat, you're fine with it. My other son, unfortunately, we lost to schizophrenia, and he lives with my ex-wife, my first wife, in Boston, a world of decreased amplitude, a lot of depression. But all in all, my experience with being a father and a son have been wonderful, enormously positive, joyful even. And I hope you, if you're thinking of becoming a father, get married first, and go for it. You'll be sorry a lot of times, but you'll be happy most of it. Thank you.
Thank you, guys, for your heartfelt sharing. We all really appreciate what you said and how you understood. And our closing song is Shower the People. It's in the White Book under the S's, Shower the People.